What's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Hope you guys are having a great week so far. I was just talking with Benson before we went live here, and I don't know if it's just me picking back up in real estate with everything going on, or if it's you guys as well, but it has been crazy the last like 3, 4 weeks for us. We've had a bunch of closings. I'm going to be out in Nashville next week going and looking at some development projects and just picking back up. So I don't know, again, if it's just me. Benson, what about you? Have you seen an uptick in activity?
I have, and I've been hearing that same thing too.
It's a great problem to have. I mean, that means that if
Mhm.
there's busy people out there in real estate, that means people are buying, people are selling, people are wholesaling. I would say people are still a little on the fence about flipping, but with that said, people are back. So that's what we are going to be talking about
Mhm.
today. As you guys saw the thumbnail, it says do this one thing specific for 90 minutes. I will jump into that in just a few minutes here, but I'm not the one that's going to want to basically string this along and at the end throw you that here's the piece of value. What I want to do is jump right into it, get you guys going ASAP with some action steps. And then more importantly, obviously, let's get some deals done. So,
Mhm.
with that said, you guys, if you are just tuning in for the first time, this is 100% unscripted. We are doing this on the fly and we are going in trying to find deals and buyers and agents to work with in markets that might even be yours. So, with that said, if you guys have a market that you want to see us go in live, make sure to drop it in the chat. This is 100% going to be an interactive show. So, if you guys can put in the chat what market you want to see, it makes it a lot easier for Benson and I just to be able to show you how that this is 100% off the script. So, what market do you guys want to see this week?
Right out of the gates, we got Pittsburgh,
Yes, sir. I see that one popping in. The Manly Investor.
the Manly Investor.
We
Oh
got
yeah,
Florida, we got Texas, Minneapolis, Las Vegas, Atlanta. I see another one for Vegas. I see a lot coming in for Vegas today. All right.
yeah.
Got Houston, Indy, Colorado, Texas, Tennessee. Bob, Nashville. Next week, I will be posting it on my social media. I'll probably be announcing it one more time next week when we do this live. But I will be in Nashville. We're actually throwing together a meetup for anyone that is local to Nashville on next Saturday.
What?
Yeah, it'll be a great time. It is Saturday. What's the date? Is that the second? No, it's the first. Saturday the first. We are doing a meetup in Nashville, Tennessee. Should be good. All
That'll
right,
be a
Benson. Do you see any?
blast.
What was that?
That'll be a blast.
Oh yeah. We're going out there for some business, taking a look at some of the developments, and then after that, thought it'd be cool to spend some time with people in the real estate community. Every time we're out and about traveling, I like to take at least one day and spend some time with some other people and get a feel for the market. Especially if we're going to be doing some deals out there in developments, it's good to get familiar with what's going on out there.
Mhm.
So, with that said, Benson, there is a bunch of different markets here to pick from. Is there any that are catching your attention?
Say we go with the first one that we got, Pittsburgh.
Let's do
We
it.
can jump in there and do Pittsburgh. I think that's probably
Beautiful.
a good one. We don't do that a lot. One of the cool things about Pittsburgh is it does have direct to MLS. So, that one you can get, better results, updated info. We're launching more and more markets, you guys. Of course, just want to reiterate, we do have nationwide data. So you can do deals anywhere. We're just adding in the direct to MLS on top of that third party MLS, which is kind of universally used by all of our competitors. We're just stepping it up. So that makes it super exciting. Did you want to share your screen or do you want me to share mine?
Doesn't make a difference for me. If you want to roll with yours, let's do it today.
Cool.
Beautiful. I'm excited. Besides, I'll focus on the phone calls and getting the deals. Makes my life nice
Yeah,
and easy.
let's do it.
Pittsburgh. And honestly, this is another fun one. This is the kind of stuff that I feel like I do better and I'm happier and I flow better when I'm not trying to follow a script or any kind of like plan of action here. So,
Mhm.
Pittsburgh is one of those markets that I have never stepped foot in. Never been to Pittsburgh, never looked in Pittsburgh, haven't done a deal in Pittsburgh. So, if this is your market or if you're in the surrounding area of Pittsburgh, I would highly advise either writing down the agent relationships that we're going after today or their numbers, because there's going to be a lot of opportunity.
There is, and while we're here at the top, I want to just point out a couple things. I mentioned that direct to MLS. For some people, that might not be totally intuitive. And what the heck does that even mean? When you look at any sort of data provider out there, from a product perspective, kind of what everybody uses is what's called third party and county record data. So third party MLS and county record. So we've got that nationwide. Wherever you see the yellow and the black is where that's available. We're currently over 90 markets with direct to MLS data. So that's the same data that agents and appraisers use, but it's not the MLS, it's the raw data. And what we do is we take that data, we make it actionable, we curate it, we make it useful for real estate investing activities. So you can make faster decisions on what a deal is. You can run accurate comparables using comping algorithms. You don't have to be a comping expert. And honestly, comping is more of an art than it is a science, and it can take years to perfect. So we bake that entire philosophy right into our comping algorithm. So our system is pulling comps and analyzing every single property in the US 24/7, whether it's on market or off market or someplace in between. We did talk about Pittsburgh. So Pittsburgh is in one of these blue areas. So wherever you see blue is that direct to MLS. The red ones are the ones that are coming soon that we're working on. And then we're going to keep adding in more and more. So if we drill down into the Pittsburgh market, we'll get to see what's going on there. But what I want to highly suggest is that you choose high investor activity areas. If you're newer to real estate investing, what that means is you're going to where other people are doing deals. And in this business, the most important thing is after repair value. So what after repair value is what is a house worth after it's been purchased, fixed up, and sold? That sold price is the after repair value, and that's what we use to determine what our target is. And then if we can get a property at a discount below after repair value, then that's a deal for us. Right now, that applies to whether, no matter what your exit strategy is, if it's wholesale, fix and flip, buy and hold, short term rental, anything in between, we all want a deal. Everyone wants a deal. And if what they always say is if you buy right, meaning you buy at a discount, you're way ahead of the curve regardless of what your exit strategy is. So I'm going to click this fix and flip box at the top. That's going to plot on the map where all the fix and flip activity is. And then we're going to drill down into an area that has high investor activity. Now, Pittsburgh in general, I think, has moderate investor activity, which is good. It isn't just targeting the highest investment activity areas. It's more about targeting moderate type and avoiding the low investor activity areas. So if we
Mhm.
zoom in here, we're going to be able to look at the kind of the Pennsylvania market. So we're coming in, getting a little bit closer and a little bit closer. In Pennsylvania, actually, Philadelphia is the hottest area. So, if I was in the Pittsburgh area, I would probably have my line in the water in Pittsburgh, but I'd also be doing Philadelphia because there is just so much activity there. But right over here, you can see these clusters. So I'm going to drill in, get a little bit closer here. We'll get this centered. And you can see here these clusters that these start to break up. And it's going to show us where the hot areas are at in and around Pittsburgh.
Mhm.
So based off of this, Ryan, what are you seeing? Looks like right in here, like not
It
right
looks
in
like,
Pittsburgh.
honestly, the heart of Pittsburgh has a lot of opportunity. I mean,
Oh,
like, I
right.
see
Here's
those
51.
big numbers. I love
Hmm.
that. The thing that I really wanna go through today to, and everyone watching, that wasn't on when we first started this, I want you guys to know that I don't want to string along the whole thumbnail of, "Oh, what do we gotta do 90 minutes a day?" The 90 minutes of activity per day is this right here. The reason we do this every single week and we start off with finding the buyer first is because that's the most essential piece to this entire strategy. When you're going and finding a buyer first, that eliminates a lot of the limiting beliefs that you might have, which in return is confidence. If you don't have confidence with this business, it's typically that you have a fear of something that you're not familiar with. You get familiar by doing the work and by doing the reps. So when we say that and we're talking about being consistent, this isn't just a mindset thing that we're trying to push to you. We want you to understand this is called market research and building your entire database. When you go and you have a buyer lined up, it gives you the confidence to be able to go in and submit offers, knowing that you have somebody already in mind. What I think a lot of people do in the wholesale space is that they go and they get a property under contract and then they're in scramble mode. They have 10 to 14 days as an inspection period to go and try to get a deal sold. So, what happens when they're doing that? Everything goes to a halt. They stop prospecting, they stop submitting offers because you're in deal selling mode. You're flipping the hat from acquisitions to dispositions. If you go in and work on finding a few buyers first, and let me make sure to emphasize that it's not going and finding 50,000 buyers, it's not even finding 1,000 buyers. To go and make my first $250,000, I did it with 5 people. If you are looking for relationships, whether it's an agent or a buyer, if you have the understanding that I'm telling you the minimum is 5 people, our goal as a team collectively is to get at least one buyer relationship in our database every single day, whether that's a developer, fix and flipper, buy and hold investor, even a hedge fund rep, maybe. All of these different relationships are going to be in different categories because they have different buy boxes. So what we're looking at here is for fix and flip buyers. If I have a buyer lined up, and in 90 minutes, that might even be a little long in the day. Throughout 90 minutes, what I advise is at least 60 minutes should be trying to find a really good buyer relationship. The other 30 is familiarizing yourself with the market. I'll tell you, even being in Arizona, where the Phoenix market is my backyard, there is constantly between the West Valley and then North Phoenix and like Scottsdale, Paradise Valley, which if you're not familiar, it's like north of Phoenix. All of that is like unknown territory for me. There is still things that I'm learning about our marketplace, things that are gentrifying. Oh, what did you know? Intel came over to this city. There's constantly things that are changing and going on. So I have to update myself and be familiar with what's going on in my market. That's what the 90 minutes is all about, is to be going in, getting market research, getting buyer relationships. And then if you take that hour and a half out of your day, the remaining hour and a half, if you're part-time, to 4.5, 5.5 hours remaining, should all be about acquisitions. Go and find the deals, because once you have them under contract, if you have the buyer relationship already squared away, it makes this process seamless. A lot of the deals we're selling right now, even we get them under contract with somebody in mind specific. We go to them, and if they're not interested, they're not purchasing it for whatever reason, I pivot because I have somebody else interested. So that's where having a strong buyer database to get started is one of the most essential things. That's why I love this. I love seeing this right here, the 51. That's exactly where I'd go. The only thing that I'm trying to familiarize myself is, you see how it looks like a little bit of a snake up and down? What I want is to see is that water, whatever, are the deals south of that, or is there still some activity going on north of it? In this case, it seems like there's a lot of activity south. So I'm going to focus in on that to start. I like the price points. If you guys watched last week, you'd see that the first thing that crosses my mind, what's the average price point? Are there any outliers? Is there anything specific that I could try to put together just from the data, looking at it from bird's eye view? I can tell you first thought, I'm seeing anywhere from mid ones to high twos. So I'm not seeing many threes, meaning that I would say it's very, very fair assumption that around 300K and under is what most of our ARVs are going to be.
Yep. Yeah, there's a few there here that, and these are a little bit older too. So these sold last month, some of these threes.
Yep.
However, we're just starting at the top here and just working our way down. One of the most important things that comes out of that market research, you guys, which is probably one of the most important things here, is that we're learning what a deal is. So if you go and you start looking for deals, acquisition, and you haven't done this first step, then you won't know what to look for.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to probably be looking at properties and not knowing if they're deals or not. And you're going to be analyzing properties and wasting time, basically. One of the most, I guess, let's say the riskiest parts of that approach is that you're going to pass up on things that you didn't think were deals because you don't know the local market reality. This is
Mm-hmm.
how you become a local market expert. This is how you know what a deal is. So when I look at a property like this that just closed a few days ago, I open that property up here in my comparative market analysis. This is the thing that I told you earlier. The Privy's building for every single property. It shows the property details. We got these rich photos, which you can't get in third-party areas or in non-disclosure states unless you've got third-party, or I'm sorry, direct to MLS. We got the property remarks. This is updating several times per hour. Our system automatically pulls comparables here. We've got our new comp adjuster, which is this settings button. It's right underneath the map on the left. You can adjust the tolerance for your square feet, your lot size. You can match up number of bedrooms and bathrooms. You can adjust the sold date range. So if you really want to make sure you're looking at the most relevant data, you can adjust your comps to only be within a certain time frame.
Yep.
That is all happening on the fly right there. And then below that, we can see the before and after on this one. And this is interesting. Check this out. They got it for 35,000 bucks.
That's insane.
Sold it for 227. Now this one was an off-market acquisition. We can see that here because it says public records. If it was an on-market acquisition, it would say the MLS ID here with the agent info. So 15%. So they got this thing for next to nothing. This thing was probably getting ready to be condemned. I mean, who knows exactly what the full story is, but It was purchased by Derek Schultz.
Yep.
So Derek Schultz is the one that flipped this property. Now we can come over here on the right, and then we can see the after product here. So we can see what they did to it. Looks like they did, kind of a standard staging, real
Yep. I was
basic.
just gonna say this is a beautiful, like very homey type remodel where they go in and they make it feel like someone's living there. That's what the staging purpose is for. The whole goal is obviously for them to be able to make someone walk in and feel as if this is their next chapter of their life.
Hmm.
I love it.
Yeah, and that strategy is what a lot of agents use, right?
Mhm.
Ryan, like a lot of
Absolutely.
agents use that same thing, and so there's a lot you can learn from watching agents and how they market deals because they really can understand what the motivation is by doing that. And so I would definitely suggest you pay attention to that because when you go out and you market your properties, then you have to put a description in there, right? And
Yep.
we've all seen those agent descriptions, like
Location, location, location. This 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom, blah, 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 blah is the best damn house on the block. And here's all the reasons why. That's
right.
what their whole goal is. It's all marketing. There's even a comment that I'll reference right here too, from Lamour. I don't know if it was overkill. I went back an entire year of research of buyers in my market. It's not bad if you're looking at buyers. It is overkill if you're looking at deals. What you want to look at it,
Hmm.
kind of similar to what we're saying about agent perspective, is that the market's consistently changing. So what I always advise if you're going to do research, 6 months and newer is going to be kind of the range you want to stay around. With that said, be mindful that a lot of the stuff that you're going to see that happened in the last 6 months because of the transition of market, it's been a little more drastic than it normally is over a 6 month span. Typically, 6 months or less is a great reference point for comps. But as for market research, 6 months is the range I'd want to stay around. This is what realtors do. They don't have any special classes or anything specific that gives them insight for the market. Some realtors have a leg up where they go through and they study the data from a website like um, there's tax records. There's what's the one I'm blanking on right now? Mm-mm-mm-mm. It's definitely not. I was gonna say like CompuCram, but that's for studying. I can't even think of it right now.
For
Um,
agents,
yeah, there's
RPR.
yes, thank you. RPR. RPR is the Realtor Property Resource. It is affiliated with the MLS Direct, and you can go in there and basically study all the stuff that's going on. The other one is the Cromford Report. So those are your two most common that people will go and study the data. I will tell you, there's nothing that a realtor can read through that I would say gives them the skill set other than if they're doing the business full time. This is just insight. A lot of times, realtors more specifically work with a buyer or a seller, so they're going to want to know what's going on in their local area aside from what's going on as a whole of a state or as a country. Most realtors don't kind of keep up with it. So I say all that is just encouragement too, so you can understand that realtors don't have any extra additional training or skills that you don't have here within Privy. If you're a realtor and you're licensed, definitely make sure to check out the Cromford Report or RPR. I think even Cromford Report can be subscribed if you're not a licensed agent. I think it's like $300 on the year. Again, Terrell Hawkins asked RPR. RPR is Realtor Property Resource. It's basically an add-on to MLS for realtors. A lot of realtors use this to comp. It's not always the most accurate. I always say it's a little bit more of an upgrade than Zillow or Realtor.com. But it's good to be able to see just kind of like if you update some of the statistics inside the like CMA they have, it'll tell you what the property value is based on the properties in that specific neighborhood, which is what I like.
Mhm. So we're looking at some properties here that sold, you guys, and we're just trying to get a sense of where they're buying deals at. Like no one
Mhm.
property or no set of property is going to give you the full thing, but this is why you want to constantly be, keeping your finger on the pulse of the market, and you actually probably want to save these searches. So
Absolutely.
with Privy, you can save any search and it will email you whenever there's a new match, and that can be used for finding deals you can write offers on, but also it can help you to do your market research because you'll forget. Like tomorrow, you might forget to go in and do your market research. But if you save this search, this will email you when a new flip is found, and you'll be like, oh, cool, I got an email. There's a new flip that just happened. Let's look at that thing. Let's check out who the buyer is. Let's see if we can identify any trends. Let's figure out, if there's anything that's changing about the market we should be aware of. So all you do is you just put the name of the search right there. You can get updates up to every hour for any search. This one I probably would only do once a day. And then I'll be notified whenever there's a new flip that happens. And then that way I'm always up to date on what's going on. And my buyers list is constantly growing and I don't have to be thinking about it all the time. But this one right here, it looks like the agent was David Kerr of Coldwell Banker Realty. And the flipper on this one is down here in the public record section. So we go to property history. We can do assessor's records. This is a newer one. So Akil Blount Executive Enterprises LLC, right? So that's the buyer. Now, Ryan, people always ask, well, should I call the agent or should I call the buyer? And I know you got a very,
Yeah,
good strategy around doing this, so you can do the one to many.
For sure. My strategy with going one to many with agents is if you call one agent, you have to remember that the hardest part for them is to find a client. So if the hardest part for an agent is to find a client, what I can understand is that one, when I call, that should help them out because I'm what the hardest part of their job is to find. The second piece is that do you think most realtors only have one client? No, most realtors have a database of people they've done deals with in the past. Now, the ones we're specifically working with, and we know that these people work with investors because of the data right in front of us, we can reach out to this agent and say, hey, what's up, David? I saw that I can't tell if it was you or if it was a client, but I see the property on Deeply Street out in Greenfield just sold. Congratulations. Just wanted to see, is your buyer looking for another deal? Now, one of two things is going to happen, maybe even three. One is that he's going to say, I'm interested in buying deals. Two, my buyer that just sold this deal is interested in buying another deal because they just sold this one. They need to roll their capital into another. Option three, for whatever reason, and this is very rare, is that they're going to say, no, we're not interested. The reason why I say it's rare is because typically the hardest part for an investor is to find the deal. So if the hardest part for them is to find the deal, and we know they just finished and sold the deal, do you think that the agent would want to list another property that was just fix and flipped? I would say absolutely. So if I know the agent wants to go and sell another property just like this one, we know that him or his client would be interested in purchasing another property where they can make money, especially if it's at that kind of ARV.
Yeah, they got this one at a pretty good deal. It was off market. Do you want to call the agent?
Yeah, I just pulled up his information. Basically, what you guys do here in this case, we want to show you guys that all you do is Google right there. He's highlighting Coldwell Banker Realty, David Kerr. I did the same thing on my computer. It was the second link that popped up. Not that first one. It was the one right below that. You can see his numbers right there in green. That is exactly what the goal is. It's now understanding that they are a commercial number. They are wanting to get found. There is no such thing as a secret agent in real estate. And if you are one, you're not successful. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. I just mean that as your job is to be noticed, your job is to be marketing, and your job is to get deals done. So let's give David a call. Let's get and see if he's got some buyers that are ready to help us out.
All right. Let's go, David.
All righty.
You've reached the voicemail of David Kerr with Coldwell Banker Realty. Leave me a brief message and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you.
At the tone, please record your message. When you've finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Hey, what's up, David? My name is Ryan. I'm an investor out in Arizona, but I've got a database of people that I'm helping out in Pittsburgh and came across a deal. Looks like you had just sold out on Dealey Street. I just wanted to see if there's a way we could collaborate, do some deals together. I see that it looks like the property was a beautiful remodel and just was wondering if you had clients that were looking to buy another project or if it was yourself that's looking for one, but got a pretty good connection to some people that have some opportunities. So just give me a shout back when you have a chance. We'd love to connect and do some deals together. 480-612. So all I did there, and I want to show you guys a little bit of a different script because I don't know if it's just the way I'm feeling today. It's a little cloudy out here in Arizona, but I'm just showing you guys there's no script. You can literally go with the flow. There's ways you can mess up words. I was really close to throwing in some kind of joke saying, I want to get a dealie with you. But then I realized like we're going to keep it professional today. It's all good, but have fun with it. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. I was talking to somebody on the phone earlier today that they were explaining to me how they invested into a bunch of mentorships and communities and stuff. And there was always the it's great, but, and what it came out to was that there wasn't enough actionable items for them to take. But the other downfall was that there was always some kind of upsell. There was never the nitty gritty showing what it's actually like to make calls, what it's like to submit offers, what it's like to sell deals. In this case, what I think most people struggle with is just starting. It's taking action. It's making the phone calls. If I can get up here and mess up every single phone call to make you guys feel better, I will do it. I will also show you that my messing up phone calls will still get deals. What people are scared of is typically things, again, they're not familiar with. So if it's something you're not familiar with, how do you become familiar? I would rather see you go and make mistakes off of a lead like this that didn't cost you any money, rather than spending $500 on a lead that comes in that you mess up the script that you paid for and tried to follow, but it didn't come across natural, and there's 50 other people that are interested in the deal aside from you. That's more demoralizing and of a setback than it is to go and make a mistake with this. Because if nobody's told you this yet, I'm sorry if I'm the bearer of bad news, but you're going to make mistakes. If you don't believe it, I make mistakes every single day. So I make mistakes, you make mistakes, we all make mistakes. What's most important is that you learn from them. You can learn from your mistakes and you could start taking consistent action of what you know works. Then it's a numbers game. And literally giving you guys the insight to that conversation I had, I don't like using this analogy, but just for any kind of reassurance I can offer to you guys today, a broken clock is right twice a day. We are not broken clocks here. We are all going to be the best I'm so bad with analogies. I'm sorry, guys. But like, our goal here is that we are like the freaking Big Ben clock. We are just amazing. We are the best thing out there. You're not a broken clock, but just know a broken clock is right twice a day. So that means that if you're consistent, you're showing up, a broken clock is right twice a day, meaning that if you're going in, you're going to do two things right in the day. You're going to find a buyer and you're going to underwrite a deal. That should be your goal. Finding buyers, underwrite deals, submit offers, sell those deals. That's what it comes out to. This is not brain surgery. I promise.
Do you want to call on the Methyl Street property?
I would love to.
What a random name for a street.
What's his name? Bill Dapper?
Yep, Bill Dapper, Remax City Life. So this was another off-market deal. So I'm actually seeing a trend in this market, you guys. There's a lot of off-market acquisitions, at least in these recent ones that we're looking at, and some really low ARVs. So I don't know what that means specifically, like if a lot of the deals are off-market, but that's part of the market research, you guys, is to look at your market and figure out what percentage of ARV the buyers are buying at. Are they buying them direct from MLS? Are they doing more off-market?
He's back.
All that stuff is education for you.
He's back, Benson. You want to flip back over to Dealey?
Okay.
Okay. This is Ryan.
Hey, Ryan, Dave Kerr giving you a call back from Pittsburgh.
Hey, how's it going?
Doing good, yourself?
No complaints. I'm just sitting here on my computer, checking out some properties that have recently sold out in Pittsburgh, trying to familiarize myself with the market a little bit.
Gotcha. Yeah, you reached specifically about that one in Greenfield
on Dealey. Yeah, it looks like it just sold at the beginning of the month. Was that a remodel, like an investor client of yours?
Yeah, that was a complete rehab.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Well, just to kind of get right to it, I'll give you a little bit about myself and then see if there's a way we could possibly do some deals together. We're in real estate too, obviously, and similar to, I'm sure, Pittsburgh, not sure to what extent, but Phoenix got hit pretty hard with the market shift. And so what I'm trying to do right now is kind of look in different markets where I've got a lot of connections out in the Midwest and then some states in the Southeast in the country. So I'm kind of just expanding out, trying to work with other real estate agents, seeing if there's a way that we could collaborate and do some deals. I have done fix and flip. I've done some wholesale deals. We've got some rentals. But more importantly is that we have the ability to find deals where the numbers make sense for an investor to go in and buy it, whether it is for buy and hold or for fix and flip. And so rather than trying to just go cold call a bunch of people, I would rather find someone that just recently has done some deals. And it looks like you had represented someone. So just thought I'd reach out, see if there's a way that maybe we could collaborate. And I'd be more than happy, obviously, if I could find the deal and you bring the buyer, we could just split the profit.
Yeah, no doubt. Absolutely.
Gotcha.
So that's what we're doing here too. Yeah.
Gotcha. Are you guys wholesaling then too? Or are you guys just fix and flipping, or what's the primary strategy, if you don't mind me asking?
No, I'm a realtor, and I actually heard of you before on Brett Daniels. But yeah. No, we're cold calling.
Damn. Well, I gotta recognize guys, but it happens. Sure. Well, I mean, dude, if you're familiar with what we do, then you know my game and how we rock and roll. I'm all about creating the win-win scenario between us and other agents. And I would just love to see if there's a way that we could do some deals together. We've got a bunch of people that are out in Pittsburgh that are looking for deals at the moment. So if there's a way that we could find like a solution, whether it's JVing deals or even we bring deals to you and that buyer, like I'm assuming that buyer that fix and flip the property, they're probably wanting to buy another deal then, right?
Of course. Yep.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I mean, dude, it sounds like this is pretty straightforward. And I mean, I don't got to give my whole spiel then if you know what we're doing and what we're about. But I will go ahead and just keep your number. Is there a way that I could send out an email to you if you just want to text that over to me with a little bit of some stuff that we've got as options at the moment?
Yeah, shoot, it's the same number.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll shoot it over.
Cool.
And, we'll keep in touch.
Well, sounds good. Well, I appreciate it, man. Thank you. Talk to you soon.
All right, man. Thank you.
Bye. He knew who I was. That's crazy. Pittsburgh.
That is cool.
Random agent out in Pittsburgh. Well,
how's that make you feel?
Is about as off script as it goes. Yeah. So shout out to Brent. Appreciate that guy. This guy said he listened to us, and I'm assuming probably on our Millionaire Before 30 show that we had. So it's super cool, super humbling. The guy knows who I am, so I didn't have to give too much of a spiel. Now, if you're on the other side of the screen here and you're like, Ryan, I'm not going to call someone, they're going to know who I am. I don't know how to word this. That script was something I've never used on a call live for other people before. That was something just kind of going with the flow. I even fumbled a little bit and I was like, oh yeah, we'll send you deals, or I have buyers. No, we're just trying to do deals together. That's what our goal is as a whole. We want to find a way to collaborate and bring value. So what it came down to is, one, I knew he had a buyer that was interested. Yes, it helped that he knew who I was and he knew what I was doing. But in a way, I could also say that was a negative, because that means that he may just think I'm wholesaling and I don't have buyers. But the other part, which is value, I led with value. I have potential buyers. I also have potential deals. You have a buyer that's interested. Let's get it going. The only other thing I would have added into that call, which I would have done if he didn't know who I was that I would have flipped it and said, tell me a little bit about your buyers. What are they looking for? In this case, if he knows who I am, he knows my game, kind of familiar with wholesaling, even though if he's just a realtor, that's fine. My goal then is not to go in and take his client or feel as if I'm taking his client. To a realtor, if you start asking too many questions about their buyer or their seller, it may come across shady. So what you want to do instead is be like, oh, cool. Are they looking to buy another one? Yeah, absolutely. Of course. Sounds good. Okay, well, if they're looking for another deal, now I can just use my common sense and see this is a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 1,300 square foot house. Benson highlighted the year it was built, which is 1900. So I know there's no kind of year built stipulation for them. So now I can reverse engineer. I'm looking for a single family home, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, probably under 1,500 square feet, that is at least 1,900 or newer. So that's pretty much all the houses. And now I just want to make sure that, as for what else we got, price point, they sold at 245. I'd probably say ARV 300 or less.
Yeah, they bought it for 116 too. So, less than 150 probably. And
Absolutely.
They were willing to buy. And this one was off market too, right? So that's a kind of an unknown. We don't know if they're willing to buy stuff from the MLS. And not that only you're going to have those properties from the MLS, but it's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
If they are staunchly against it, that's good to know. So you know which deals to bring them.
Absolutely. And Karen had a great question here. Would that agent get the buyer's agent commission and a JV assignment split? So understanding in a transaction, typically how the payout works is very important. Not that you want to focus entirely on this, but what you want to do is just understand what the process looks like. So there's a few different ways. There's a traditional transaction where there's a buyer's agent and a seller's agent. The commission is paid for by the seller and the listing agent. The listing agent is the one that represents the seller. They decide the commission total. In this case, if I bring him a deal that's on market, it depends. If I have it under contract and he's representing me as the buyer's agent, yes, he would get the commission. Now, I would work something out with this guy where if he's representing me and taking the commission, he doesn't get the assignment fee. Now, if there is no commission on the deal and there's only an assignment fee, absolutely split it down the middle with them. It all depends on what value they're bringing to the deal. Or to the table. If you're bringing the deal and they're bringing the buyer, the deal can't be done without you or them. So you need to put your ego aside and just take the money. This was another conversation I had the other day where there's a potential deal where there's about like 20K left on the table. And I just told the guy, I'm like, look, I would personally just let it be. Close the transaction, learn from it, explain the process to the guy that messed up in the case where mentioned the price being a little too low. But it is what it is. Don't start getting greedy, because that's the minute when that opportunity just goes boom and it's taken right from you. So what you want to do is just be consistent. and be fair and lead with value. I keep going back to lead with value because that's this entire business model. It's relationship focused, but it's leading with value with no ego and no entitlement. This strategy, just like everything else, the deals are hard to find. So if only there was a software where you could have all of the things that you needed right in front of you. That's why I launched this thing with Benson, doing this every week, was to show you guys, put me in a market where we have no idea anything. I've never stepped foot in Pittsburgh. I've never done a deal in Pittsburgh. I've got some people in our community that are in Pittsburgh, but I've never looked at deals out there. This random agent, I mean, he knew who I was, which is cool, but this guy was over here doing the business and he has the buyers. So that helps. That's one relationship down. I have a buyer lined up. I have a buy box to go and target. Now it's just a matter of going and reverse engineering this to find the deal. And we have a software right in front of us with a big green button we click that will tell us where those deals are as well. So,
and now we know what a deal
Great
looks
question.
like, right? So, we got all kinds of research to do here. We wouldn't be done, right? If we were doing this for real, right? We only have an hour, so we have to pack a lot of value into this 1 hour. But you would spend your time going through and making sure you know exactly what the buyers are buying, making those phone calls, building rapport, figuring out what percentage of area they're buying properties at, and then you can flip the switch on that. That agent was, he was in the right place at the right time. He's definitely going to be one that you're going to want to build a relationship with. So if you're doing that, maybe jot that name down, because that guy's open to doing deals.
David Kerr. I mean, he said he watched me with Brent, and if he's watching whatever it is that Brent's doing, that I'm doing, that we're doing together, I mean, I'll tell you, he's an investor-friendly realtor. He knew who I was, and his first thought wasn't screw you. If he knew who I was and said screw you, obviously he doesn't like wholesaling. If he says, oh, hey, what's up, Ryan? I know who you are. I used to watch you with Brent. Okay, sounds good. It sounds to me like you are familiar with what we're doing and you're curious to do more deals. He's working as a realtor, where the hardest part of his job is to find someone to sell a property. He has an investor client, maybe even more than one investor. This is why I reach out to the agent as opposed to the buyer direct. Buyers are typically, like, I don't want to say like too good to answer the phone, but their main focus is just doing business, whether that's they're a true entrepreneur and they've got 15 different things on their plate, or they are all in on real estate. And if this is still something that they're doing like as their primary focus, the odds of them having just one deal are pretty slim. Buyers don't answer the phone, just like how sellers don't want to negotiate. It's the same philosophy, whereas if you go and you work with the middle person, who's the agent knew me. He now knows what the buyer's looking for. He has other investors that he has in his database. So what I'm looking for is the relationship. I brought value to him. And I mean, again, not to keep referencing that he knew who I was, but I brought value before I even got on the phone with him. That means that when he answered and he knew who I was, that was fantastic. That means that he's like, dude, this is great news. I already know who you are. I don't need to qualify this guy out. He doesn't have to qualify me. He doesn't have to make sure that I'm going to be a client that's going to bring value to him, because I'm already bringing a conversation where I have potential deals for his buyer client that just sold a deal. So now where I'm going back to bring it all full circle is that the minute I bring him an opportunity, because he's not an investor himself, he's just an agent, what he's hoping happens is the investor buys another house, he gets the listing at the end. That's what he's hoping for in perfect case scenario. What I get to show a guy like David, which I would highly encourage if you're in the Pittsburgh market, go and build that relationship with David, lead with value, but understand that if you go in and you get a deal, what happens if you get it at 200K and you can assign it out? Might be a bad example. Let's call it 150. You assign it out at 170. There's 20K in a wholesale fee. Split it with David. You take 10. He takes 10. Now he gets the property. He flips it, turns around and sells it. What do you think is going to happen when that property sells? David's the rock star that sold the property for the investor. You're the rock star that brought the deal to the table. Even if David doesn't give you the credit, you don't need it. It's okay, because you could be the quiet guy that just keeps bringing deals to the table to David's buyer. But now what ends up happening is David's going to go and want to work with you even more. He's going to want to go and find more investor clients. This is where the philosophy of what I try to really just push to people to understand is that I'm telling you to find 20 to 25 agents. 20 agents, 2 deals a year, that's 40 transactions. 25 agents, 2 deals a year is 50 transactions. Just by trying to get a feel for the chat here, how many of us would love to do 50 deals in a year? Because I can tell you right now, it was a little bit of a slower year last year, and we did like 66. So if we were around 66 last year in a slower year, what do you think you could do in a market where things are thriving? you could do 300, 400, 500 transactions seriously. And that's, I know it sounds crazy to think about and wrap your head around, but to understand 20 people, 2 deals a year brings 40 transactions is mind blowing. That's much better than going and skip tracing and pulling a list of 30,000 records and texting, cold calling, ringless voicemail, hiring a VA, systems, processes, sales skills, masterminds. Before you know it, you're 30, 40K deep every month. That's not the business model that works. I saw this statistic the other day that I've been talking like nonstop about. It's like this thing I'm preaching, but did you guys know that 90% of transactions were done on market or with a realtor? 10% of the transactions that are done, and I think it's actually lower than 10%, but 10% of the transactions that are done are off market, direct to seller. Do you realize the strategy that people focus on? 10% of what is being done, actual transactions, most people are targeting that. Why wouldn't you go to the MLS and work with agents all day long? This is the strategy that works. This is the strategy that will change your life. And if you are a realtor and you're not using this strategy, I'm telling you all day long, you are leaving 6 figures on the table minimum.
Yeah.
There's so much opportunity.
And all it takes is just a little switch in your mind, a slight paradigm shift on what's possible. But we show you, that's what the before and after does, right? That's what this market research does. Earlier, you said, going in and kind of getting, learning what's possible, what's the fear of missing out on deals, proving that it can be done. Every one of these properties we're showing are deals that were properties that people flipped. What we saw initially actually was a lot of off-market acquisitions in Pittsburgh. Can you do on-market? Absolutely. But look at this. This one was an on-market deal, and this is better than many of the off-market deals that we looked at. This was acquired from the MLS at 47% of the ARV. So if you're ignoring on-market as a significant source of your deal flow, you're missing out on the majority of the stuff that's out there. Period.
And on top of that, you don't need to do high quantity of deals. What I will always tell people too, and maybe I haven't said this on this series yet, if you're going into wholesale, it takes a specific kind of person to make an entire business model around wholesaling. It's more focused on being a disposition wholesaler where you can be someone that is a resource for people that can't sell deals for it to be a successful wholesale business. Most of the time, if you're only on acquisitions, I don't want to say it's a means to an end. It's a level thing. The foundation piece is wholesaling. From there, once you make some capital, you allow yourself to go and start exploring different things. That's when you go down all the different rabbit holes of creative finance, of fix and flip, buy and hold, development, private money lending, whatever it looks like. What you want to focus on to start is the basics. Going and finding properties on market, your profit margins are through the roof. Last year was my lowest profit margin percentage with this strategy since I've started doing it, and it was 77%. 77% profit margins, and that was my worst profit margin year I've had with this strategy. 2 years ago was 93%. The year before that was like 96%. That means that out of 10 grand, we're keeping $9,600. $400 was my overhead that I paid out to a transaction coordinator. I paid out for whether it was an MLS system or it was some kind of automation tool, but $400 is my overhead. Direct to seller profit margins, if you're running a great business model, it's 20%. If you're phenomenal and a legend, it's 25 to 30%. It doesn't make sense. You don't need to go and close 30 deals a month. You don't need to go and close 10 deals a month. I was talking to somebody else about this morning. You don't need to go and even close 10 deals in a month. And if you're in that status where you're feeling like I need to hit a certain amount of volume or a certain amount of quantity deals per month, you've already lost the game. What you need to do is just pick up the phone and get one deal. One deal that pays you out 10 grand. I promise you, if that's not the biggest check that you've already gotten, that's the check that changes your mindset because it didn't take you anything more than virtually going and doing this business. You pick up your phone, you call, comfort of your own home. You submit an offer, you digitally sign it from the comfort of your own home. You go after this and you send an email to a title company from the comfort of your own home. Title company follows the contract. They send the check to you afterwards. You are literally the definition of just printing money. That is what wholesaling is. Start with one deal a month as a goal. When you get to that point at 10K a month, one deal a month, that's 6 figures a year off of one deal per month.
It's crazy. I don't know of any other business that requires such a small investment, which is next to nothing. And then the ongoing costs are so low. I had no idea you were that 93%. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Dude, it was insane.
I saw over this last weekend. Sorry, let me just finish the thought. Somebody was up on stage at this AW growth event, And they were saying that based off of like all of the main companies that are out there, they did a poll, and their profit margins were between 15 and 12% net. 12 to 15%.
Yeah.
That's all they're putting in their pocket. And you're talking about flipping it and doing 93%. I mean, it's so crazy. So you guys focus on what works, get the low hanging fruit. The strategy we're showing is super simple compared to what's out there. Can you find deals off market? Absolutely. We were just looking at several people who are doing off market deals in Pittsburgh. But when you're looking at those percentages, you're not taking into consideration all of the cost and time that it took to get those deals. So we don't know what their net is, and we're also, when you look at someone's net from like a percentage of ARV, we're just looking at like what they bought it for and the cost of the deal. That doesn't even factor in marketing costs. That's just realtor fees, that's financing fees, closing costs, construction costs. That's the main cost that we think about, but we're not even thinking about what they actually spend on marketing and VAs and systems and all the other stuff they have to do. So this works, you guys. Just do what Ryan's doing right now. Spend those 90 minutes, like you said, doing this every single day. It will make you a market expert, and you will get the confidence you need to pick up the phone and start dialing.
And also, just to really drive the point home, I want to make sure you guys understand what I said at the beginning. I told you that 90 minutes a day, this is what we do. One day out of the week, Benson and I put aside at least 60 minutes to come and show you guys this. If you haven't put it together, that every week we start off with finding the buyers, it's to show you that even today, without going and looking at deals and spending more time just showing you guys the first step, which is finding the buyer and doing your market research. If you do this every day, what did I tell you the goal should be? Underwrite one deal and submit an offer. Find a buyer. What did we just do? We haven't underwritten a deal yet, which is fine, but I built a relationship with an agent that said they have a buyer that's looking to buy the next deal. If you're in Pittsburgh, this guy, David Kerr, I think was his name, right? David Kerr. I would be reaching out to this guy. If you are in Pittsburgh or in a surrounding area or looking in this market, he's watching investor activity. He's watching investment YouTube videos, but he said he's only an agent. He works with investor clients. What I'm getting up here and saying, the reason I think it comes across so passionate is because I'm just trying to like be across the screen, like, guys, come on, let's do this. Like, this is not going to be brain surgery, but it's also, I understand it's simple, but it's not easy. There was a guy on my team that said this like 4 years ago, and I've been saying this now ever since, because this is the most real thing I found about real estate. The fact that it's simple, but it's not easy. Wrap your head around what you're doing. You're looking on the internet, which we all do all day long anyway. So we're looking at the internet. We're making phone calls or sending texts. We're looking at pictures of properties. We're digitally signing contracts. We're sending an email. We're having maybe one or two more conversations, and then we're getting tens of thousands of dollars. That's what we're doing day in and day out. It all starts with this activity and finding buyers, doing your market research. But I already hit the KPI in less than an hour. And that's with going extremely slow and making sure to emphasize specific things to you guys. I found a buyer in less than an hour. My box is checked. Now I'm on to the next thing, which is, can I get an offer submitted in Pittsburgh for this buyer?
Not to mention whether or not David has other deals that he can send to you. So you didn't even talk about the pocket listings that David has and all the other agents you're talking to. That's the next question after you've built a little bit of rapport is, you have any other deals that you come across that maybe just don't want to be listed? That's where I'm here for you on that. Like, send those to me. I'll take them from you. So that's for another day, but let's go ahead and see if there's any deals here. So right here at the top, we got this big green button. This is as simple as we can make it, you guys. You can recreate this filter by going in here and actually creating it by hand and manually. But when you click this one button, the system now is going in, it's pulling comps on all the properties in this area, and it's looking for properties that we can write offers on right now. Now, is there deals today? I don't know. We don't know if there's deals or not. And that's the thing about these live trainings is we may not find a deal, right? This is just based off of what's there. Privy doesn't create or destroy deals. All we do is we just filter through all the noise to drill you down on the ones that make the most sense, give you the opportunity to underwrite it, see if the deal makes financial sense for your deal criteria or your buyer's criteria. So let's look at the comparables here on this. It's $100,000. It's $100,000. We look at the comps, we see 2 houses that were flipped that are comparable to this house. Now, I want to point out that the 2 houses that are closest, these are both under contract. They haven't closed yet. This one was only under contract for 9 days before it went under contract. And this one was 32. Both of these are going to be close to asking price. Would you agree, Ryan? They're going to be
Absolutely.
they're going to be close to asking price because they went under contract so quickly. And that is not just the marketing time, that's also the time in escrow. So right now they're in there, they're trying to get their loan put together, they're doing their due diligence. So these are probably both very close to this 235 price. Now, I wouldn't want to make a buying decision solely on just under contract properties, but I would do a little bit of research. You can call the agents on these houses. Have you ever done that, Ryan, where you call the agent of an under contract price and be like, hey, listen, I'm doing a little bit of research. I see you got this house that's under contract over in Del Rose.
Yeah, why don't we do that right now? Let's do this. Let's call this person, because I'm going to show you guys. There's typically a few different ways the conversation goes. I'm trying to figure out what this property is under contract for. The thing I want to put as a disclaimer, they don't have to tell me. And just so you guys know, fully transparent, it's actually not in their benefit to share with me what they're under contract for. Does that mean they won't? We don't know. Let's call.
Right.
So what is their name? It's Ella
Serrato.
Saran? Yeah. Okay.
Serrato.
Remax Select.
Yep.
Okay. So in this case, I'm doing some research. Benson, what's the address of the one that I'm looking at?
It's Brownsville Road, 1405 Brownsville.
Okay, so this is actually perfect. I'm looking, she's the one for Della Rose.
Del Rose.
Right? Okay.
Just
Delrose?
DELLROSE.
Delrose, thank you.
So it's down the way there. Brownsville is just around the corner.
Okay, let's just go for it. What's their name? Who is it? I'm calling
Ella.
Your call has been forwarded to an automated voice messaging system.
It's all good.
1 2.
This is how you leave the voicemail.
0 6 0 9 6.
Oh shoot, sorry.
Is not available.
Just gave away their voice or number.
At the
It's all
tone,
good.
please record your message. When you've finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Hey Ella, my name is Ryan. I'm an investor out in Arizona. I'm looking at a couple properties out in Pennsylvania and checking out a property. It looks like you have under contract on Delrose Street. Just had a few questions about it. If you give me a call back. Thanks. Bye. So all I'm looking for there is her to get on the phone. Now, typically the way the conversation is going to go, I will tell you the type of the tone you want to have when you're on the phone with them. You want to sound clueless. And I know this is very, very, very weird advice, but when you get on the phone with them, you want to sound as if you're very confused and you don't know the answers, because what's going to end up happening is if you come across confident and very savvy with your answers, they're going to be like, who the hell are you? And why do you want to know information about my deal? They're not going to share it with you. Whereas if you come across hey, I'm looking at Delrose. Your name's Ella. I don't know what's going on. I'm trying to figure this out. I want to buy this property that's around the corner, but I'm trying to figure out if it's a good price or not. If it's not this one that I buy, I'll probably buy another one. Maybe you could help me out with that. They're asking me for $170,000 for this property I'm looking at. I'm just kind of curious. I'm looking at yours as a comp. Are you guys at the list price? That's how you word it. If you ask them if they're at their list price, it's a yes or no, and they'll start telling you where it is. If you go and say, what are you under contract at? They're going to be like, I can't disclose. And some agents will. They will just be like, oh, I'm under contract at 233. Okay, sounds good. Well, that's a great realtor. In our case, it's a bad realtor in the fiduciary sense for their client. What you're looking for is over under this amount. It's between this amount and this amount. Okay, sounds good. It's below list price. It's at list price, above list price. We had multiple offers. You want to get that kind of insight so it tells you about how hot this current market is.
So I'm just kind of looking at some other deals here, Ryan. I came across this one on 120 Lilmont Drive. It's $79K. The house right across the street just sold for $199K.
Wow.
That puts this house at asking price at 40% of the ARV. And we looked at a bunch of properties that were off market that were over 40%.
Yep.
We found this house with zero marketing, and we found that one that was at 40 something percent that was on market. But here's the comp. So it has one extra bathroom, but it's renovated. So this one does represent the after repair value.
Yep.
So our property at asking price is right around 40% of the ARV. Now, people are always going to ask, Ryan, like, if I want to make this into a deal, like 40%, that's pretty low.
Mm-hmm.
If you were going to make an offer on this price, knowing what we know, this is almost the exact same house as the comp. What would you want to write an offer on to try to make this into a deal and still have it at a low enough price to where you can make the buyer feel like they're getting a deal?
70K. If this is a
70K.
slam dunk deal and it is a home run at the price it's at, little tip here is that if you're writing offers on the MLS and you're trying to wholesale them, don't write the offer at list price. The market we were in the last year and a half, 2 years, you could get a property under contract like this at 79.9, and I could wholesale it out at 110. So in reality, that just doesn't happen all that often. So what I'm looking at is it's all about optics. The buyer is going to think, we hope, with logic rather than emotion. However, there is a stance of, if you guys haven't read the book, 48 Powers of Law, it's a great reference to this, but it's called leverage. What you need to be able to do here is have control of the situation and make them feel as if they're winning. And it's not making them if the numbers make sense. It's just, unfortunately, in the game of wholesale, people count other people's pockets. It's why the double close became a thing. They were doing that to be able to avoid agents, sellers, or buyers having a problem with you making a fee. In my opinion, wholesaling on market or off market, we are the ones that kind of get slapped across the face and teeth kicked in when it comes to our fees. So what you want to do is just make the buyer aware that you are wholesaling. The deal is from the MLS and it's below list price. So if it's listed at 79.9 and you offer it to them at 75, that was $5K off of the price that they didn't have to go and negotiate on their own. Now, some buyers might say, that's not much of a discount. I could buy that myself. The difference is when you have it under contract, it's exclusively available through you. So in this case, and I love that Benson's going to share this with everyone, this is a deal that I would go after. I would recommend obviously calling, build rapport with the agent, start with the property condition, get to the seller situation, negotiate down the price. In this case, I said 70 because if it's a deal at 79, which it seems to be, Benson, how long is this listed? 1 day?
1 day.
You might have to have the listing agent represent you in the transaction, but go right to the listing agent, have them represent you because it's day one on market, especially if there's multiple offers. See if you can get it done at 70,000, 72.5. Get it under contract with an inspection period, wholesale it out between 75 to 77K. They win as the buyer. They got it below list price. You win by making 5K, 7K, whatever you can make on the deal. And then obviously the agent and the seller win because they got the price that's fair for them.
Oh yeah, and the thing about this that's so sweet, you guys, is you didn't have to get on the phone and have an uncomfortable conversation with some person who's in foreclosure who doesn't want to talk to you. You're lucky if you can even talk to those people. Like honestly, I think I don't know what the conversions. It's less than 5% of the people you're actually going to talk to when you're pulling all these lists. And you're dialing for dollars and you're driving around, and this is just so much more simple. You got a property, they raised their hand, they said they want to sell it. The reason why this is a deal, you guys, someone might say, well, why would they list this for such a low price? Like they listed it at a price that's based off of its as is condition. The reason why this house is a deal is because it's down the street from a house that was just flipped. So a flipped house turns all the unrenovated houses around it into deals as long as they're priced right at based off of their as is condition. This house needs work. This is exactly what we're looking for here. This is the reverse REI strategy in action. You target high investor activity areas, you got the buyers, you got the data to prove ARV, and you have the ability to find properties at prices that are, you can get close to asking price. You don't have to lowball to make the strategy work. That's one of the things that why a lot of people didn't like on market deals historically, because they didn't use the reverse REI strategy. They just looked for on market deals where they live, which likely is a crappy market. So they had to make the numbers work. They had to lowball, and they were never winning deals. And so suddenly MLS deals suck, right? Because they weren't using the same strategy that we're using today. High investor activity turns unrenovated homes in the same neighborhood into deals. That's how the MLS strategy works.
Absolutely. And this is a great question here by Rick, to kind of wrap it up, is that he asked, once you have the MLS property under contract and your buyers want to go inspect the property, what is your process for getting them in, getting them access, especially if the property is lived in? So, Rick, I put it in a way that I try to make it as easily understandable as possible. So, when you buy a house and you go under contract and it's on market, you're going to use a realtor that represents you as the buyer. So they go in, they represent you, you go under contract on a house. Let's just say that this house is a zoo. There is 15 different family members living in this one house. During your contract negotiation period, you're going to have an inspection period. During your inspection period, do you think that you'd want to make sure that the property was inspected and you know what the condition of the property is for your own sake, for your own due diligence? Probably. There is no difference. And this is what I find so comical about direct to seller. Direct to seller, you have as is, non-refundable earnest money, quick close. You don't get to pick title. You're basically at the beg and mercy of whoever has the deal under contract. And if you're going against somebody else, it's as soon as you get EMD in, whoever gets it first gets the deal. Here with on market, realtors are used to inspection periods. They are used to appraisals. They are used to closing costs being split down the middle, where there's buyers closing costs and sellers closing costs. They are used to everything and anything that could go wrong in a transaction to go wrong. So the minute your deal is as is, closing on the seller's date, and you're not playing any games, you're the unicorn. So you have full right to be able to go in and get an inspection period. During your inspection period, you could walk in the property for whatever reason. The only thing you want to make note of courtesy wise is that you don't want to be going in and out of the property 24/7 during your inspection period. So what you'd want to do instead is set up a day, probably 3-4 days out, or even if you could, day 1 or day 2 of your inspection period, set up an appointment from 12 to 2. Go, and this is where it depends on how it's all going to be laid out, if the seller's there or not. If the seller's there, your job is to show up with bagels, donuts, sandwiches, something. Show up, occupy the seller. Now you have either a business partner or you're going to play the game of bouncing back and forth. Task 1 is make sure seller's occupied with food. Now go to your buyer, have conversation. Set the expectation with your buyer up front. We are not talking terms. We're not talking price. We're not talking anything around this property. And you're not going to talk about this with anyone aside from me outside of the property. So you set the expectation, seller's taken care of. Now at this point, seller's going to be made aware by their realtor that they have to step aside. They have to allow the inspection to be done. So whether this is an actual inspector, a contractor, interior designer, stager, spouse, friend, family member, shit, you just wanted to walk through the property because you want to see what color the walls were again. You have full right to do so. The only time that you have to make note of something is if there is a tenant as opposed to a homeowner. So if the seller of the property has a tenant in there, some states have tenants' rights where you need to give a 24, 48, or 72-hour notice. So just make sure you're being mindful, but that's why I recommend scheduling an appointment. Do like a 12 to 2 window, get all of your buyers in there as fast as they can, and just tell the agent and the seller that these are people a part of your team and your operation.
And also, Ryan, 90% of the time, the owner of the house is going to leave when there's an inspection.
Absolutely. Good agents will make sure that that person takes a hike. Yep.
And you can get 3-4 hours, a 3-4 hour window, because if an inspector is going to come on a traditional transaction, it's going to take them that long to do a full inspection. They're going to get up on the roof. They're going to turn the furnace on. They're going to check the AC. They're going to flip every switch. Like they're going to go in there. They're going to go through that with a fine tooth comb. So it is not unusual to get a 3 to 4 hour window when the homeowner is not there. And then you just have all your buyers go through there at the exact same time. So you have 10 buyers that are interested. They all need to go through there at that time.
Absolutely. And I know I said last question, Alan, you brought up a really good one. Then this is the last one, I promise. Alan said, Ryan, how do you deal with agents who want you to see the house before submitting an offer, even if verbal? At this point, this is my situational awareness that if I'm not local to that market or it's not where I want to drive to, I would ask the agent if they're willing to go and do a virtual tour for me. Can you go on FaceTime? Can you go record a video? You'd be surprised how fast their answer changes to, well, I'm busy or I'm doing this. And I say, great, I understand. I'm an investor and I buy multiple houses every month. If I had to stop to go look at potential properties that I might buy, it would be taking away from the time that I have to go purchase more properties. I don't mean that in an egotistical way. I just mean that in the sense that I'm here to make money. I'm not here to go and make you feel better or hit whatever it is that you're looking for as a qualification to purchase the property. Do I have the cash? Do I have the willingness? Do you have the property? Yes, everybody has the parts they need to purchase the deal. During my inspection period is when I view my property.
Yep.
Great question.
Or just find an agent who represents investors and have them look at it for you.
Correct. And that's always an option, especially if you're not local. What I always recommend is if you go kind of that flow of how I worded it, they don't typically have an issue. If you ask them to go and view it on your behalf and they represent both sides, you'd be again surprised how quick that their attitude changes and suddenly you don't need to see the property. So typically they just want to qualify everybody. Can't fault them for that. There is a lot of opportunity on the MLS. There's so many different situations. Throughout these videos we've done so far, I found even value that I've gotten from this as well. Just getting insight for different markets, building relationships with other agents. So I appreciate all of you guys. If you guys are finding value, the best thing we can get from this is a referral. Obviously, signing up for Privy, that would be something I would highly advise you guys do if you haven't already. But Privy is a resource that I use. I don't get up and promote or affiliate with many companies or softwares or anything out there just because I don't want to be the guy up there waving all the different flags. Privy is the one software out there that really changed everything for me, and it introduced me to a lot of I'd even just say like just different hacks. It made me realize that what I was doing was more manual labor, where this is more automated and it has all the resources right in front of me. So I would highly advise, if you guys haven't looked into Privy, make sure to sign up. What we're trying to do here is provide value. So what you guys can do for us is, if you're trying to get more insight or just have your questions answered, make sure to just show up to this weekly. If you can, like, subscribe, share this video with a friend. We appreciate you guys and look forward to seeing you guys next week. Benson, do you have any thing you want to leave everybody with today?
No, just thanks for being here. Appreciate you guys taking time out of your busy schedule. We're doing this every week. Actually, Ryan, I won't be here next week. I will
No worries.
be
Got it.
at a
Hold down the fort.
conference next week. However, you guys, these are recorded, right? So come back to this, go back and Ryan is a really good speaker, right? So make sure you go back and you write down what he's saying on the phone. Turn that into a script, make it your own. But you can go back and watch these and put that down on a document, and then you can practice it and use the same kind of swag that Ryan has, and you'll get used to saying it. Practice it with your friends, your family, your business partners. Get good at it. All that's right here. Make sure you watch those replays and like and share the video too.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
Awesome.
Well, guys, I will see you next week. Benson, enjoy your trip, and we
Thank
will
you.
see you guys in a couple weeks.